right, let's jump into the story of a man whose basic magic completely shocks a room of genius students. They are absolutely stunned. He is the legendary prodigy Professor Deculein, showing off how even low-tier telekinesis can look incredibly majestic. It is so elegant and gorgeous. But what these kids do not know is that this man is no longer their actual professor. He is actually the game's ultimate boss. Back in reality, Jin-woo was just a regular tester at a major, highly watched gaming company. He was testing a massive AAA game built with advanced artificial intelligence, packed with knights, powerful mages, adventurers, and deadly demons. Players can become anyone they want in this vast world, as long as the game remains profitable and keeps its reputation intact. If it fails, his company goes completely bankrupt. That is why Jin-woo has been working crazy overtime for months on end, all because of a broken character named Deculein. Every single time this guy dies, the entire game crashes to the desktop. Deculein is a notorious mid-boss, a villain, who basically triggers endless other bosses. In this current run, his cause of death is being stabbed by his own fiancée. Just then a woman walks in, asking how the test is going. This is Jin-woo's supervisor. She is also his ex-girlfriend, Ara. They dated for 7 years back, when he was laid back, and she was an extreme non-stop workaholic. Her intense ambition caused rumors about him, leading to their breakup. 6 months later, she already has a brand new boyfriend. Jin-woo playfully asks if things are going well with the new guy. But hearing her say yes still stings his heart. Now watch closely, because Jin-woo notices something weird. Why does this supposed major boss die so incredibly easily in the game? The real twist is that Deculein is programmed to grow stronger alongside the players, scaling the entire difficulty of the game. That is when Ara drops a bomb. Deculein's character model was actually based entirely on Jin-woo himself. That explains his gloomy vibe and why he dies early on. Honestly, his personality is a mirror image of yours. Jin-woo wonders why this single game decides the company's survival. But his ex-girlfriend completely avoids the question. Instead, she changes the subject. That is when Jin-woo spots her new boyfriend leaning against a car outside waiting. He is clearly waiting for her. After they say goodbye, Jin-woo keeps testing, cursing the writer for modeling a total scumbag after him. Still, Deculein possesses 6 unique starting traits, including dignity and grace, a twisted prodigy status, and complete magic mediocrity. He is a weird mix of genius and failure. Hailed as a prodigy in childhood, he is actually just a mediocre fraud. His intense pride and arrogance created a monster obsessed with cleanliness, strict routines, competitive drive, noble etiquette, and bluffing. With a strong mind and so many buffs. How could anyone call him lazy? Everyone around him absolutely hates him. Annoyed by this sad reality, Jin-woo decides to manually log in and edit Deculein's stats to give him a major boost. He boosts his understanding, wealth, adds the Midas touch, and throws in massive physical buffs. Before he knows it, he goes completely overboard. Just as he tries to undo the changes, a notification pings. He receives a mysterious email from the game's lead developer. Let's pause for a second. Jin-woo asks what is wrong, but the writer tells him to look at something absolutely bizarre. He looks out the window. A massive, swirling black hole has torn through the dark clouds, and it is coming straight for him. Suddenly, a blinding bolt of lightning crashes through the glass, striking Jin-woo directly and sending him into a deep, endless void. In the darkness, a voice whispers, "Deculein is not lazy. Even if he seems stuck one day, he will become truly extraordinary. Right now, he is only suppressing his true talent because he is destined to be a villain." Suddenly, a voice wakes him. A girl is furiously glaring at him, demanding to know how long he plans to sleep. He still feels like he is dreaming. She snaps at him to stop running from his fiancée and disgracing their family, tossing down documents for his university lectures. Ever since that strange light struck him a week ago, Jin-woo has been trapped inside the very game he was testing. He knows that in every single timeline of this world, his character is absolutely destined to die a brutal death. That is because he reincarnated as Deculein. It took him days to accept this crazy reality, likely triggered by that lightning. Deculein is an unavoidable mid-boss who has murdered countless innocent people, including the parents and lovers of the game's heroes. I is the ultimate enemy. Worse, he has no idea where the timeline is, and his magic pool is mysteriously draining. Out of thousands of test runs by his team, Deculein has only survived to the end exactly once in game history. This villain was literally programmed just to die. Deculein sighs and begins reviewing the documents his sister left on the desk. They contain his lectures on basic magic theory. Yariel, the girl from earlier, is actually his half-sister and current family head. She runs the house in his place, and they absolutely despise each other, especially regarding his high-profile, highly dangerous fiancée. That dangerous woman is his fiancée, Julie, who has a highly complicated, deadly history with the original owner of this body. But Yariel warned him he has classes to teach today. Trust me, you and I are going to love his first lesson. Stick with me. You are about to watch a guy wake up with a system panel telling him to survive by giving a university lecture. Looking at the screen, Deculein decided to tackle the side quest. Luckily, this body came with a broken innate trait, understanding a skill that activates with mana. It was actually a cheat code Jin-woo gave himself before entering this game world, an end-game level skill. He naturally grabbed his clothes and got dressed, acting exactly like the original villain from day one. Even if the outfits were not his style, they felt incredibly elegant. This was all thanks to Deculein's own traits. His built-in dignity, aesthetic sense, and intuition. It felt like the villain's soul was constantly whispering that this body belonged to him. He physically could not break noble etiquette. To gather clues, he had no choice but to head out and deliver that university lecture. Even for his first presentation, he felt zero stage fright. This high society life was the exact opposite of his messy past self. Back then, his ex called him a lazy, pathetic loser. That was the real him, which meant he could never drop his guard. He had never ridden in a luxury ride like this. Inside sat a quiet young man, waiting patiently to hand over a file. Deculein assumed this guy was just a random assistant. But then he learned this loyal worker had been by his side for years, 3 years to be exact. The papers were packed with detailed notes for the speech, which was a huge lifesaver. See, the original villain was a total fraud who could never write this. Our main character wanted to say thanks, but his arrogant body refused. He barely squeezed out a stiff compliment. The driver was completely shocked, as the old professor never ever praised his staff. Just being nice made his stomach physically turn. Soon they arrived at the Imperial University, the villain's grand academic playground. He stepped into the crowded lecture hall, where everyone was whispering about his legendary prodigy status. Keeping his cool, he gave a smooth introduction and officially started the presentation. Now watch closely, because right in the crowd sits a vengeful student who wants our main character dead. Her father took his own life after his life's research was stolen by the university's supposed mathematical genius, Deculein. After his death, her family lost everything. Left completely homeless, she became a desperate orphan. She vowed to make him pay in blood, working herself to the bone, just to enter his prestigious university classes. Nobody else in the room knew the truth. But she knew he stole her father's legacy and destroyed her entire family. She wanted to tear him apart right then and there, but forced herself to wait for the absolute perfect revenge. As Deculein explained the complex rules of magic, he was shocked by how natural it felt. The textbook concepts clicked instantly. His commanding aura gripped the room, keeping every single student totally silent. I know what you're thinking. A fraud who's actually a natural-born teacher. Well, kind of. He told them that choices matter more than effort, which was honestly a perfect description of his own survival strategy. His mana pool was only 3,000, while elite mages start with 30,000. Yet the class ended flawlessly. But he skipped the typical arrogant closing statement. Instead, he calmly asked the class if anyone had questions. The students looked at each other in stunned silence. Suddenly, a brave kid brought up a mysterious magic circle found last night. He challenged the legendary professor to decode it on the spot, but Deculein just stared him down coldly. He demanded the student state his name first, calling him rude. Honestly, our main character was just panicking inside. His lecture had drained almost all his mana. Attempting to analyze an unknown spell right now could completely empty him. The class laughed, thinking the kid failed to show off. But the challenger wasn't backing down just yet. He cast the spell straight at the professor, demanding an immediate answer on its structure in front of everyone. As Deculein stared at the incoming magic, his mana levels began plummeting at a terrifying speed. While the kid smirked, waiting for clues, Deculein calmly declared that no clues were needed for a basic barrier spell. He warned them it was a trap to lock them in, successfully finishing his lecture and earning 0.5 points. Later in the cafeteria, the humiliated student cursed his luck for getting labeled as rude during his failed trap. I was convinced Deculein was just bluffing, since that specific spell required a physical medium to work. But as he cursed the professor, a classmate ran in with shocking news about the dorm gate. The barrier spell had been broken, proving Deculein was right all along. The kid was left utterly speechless. Instead of exposing a fraud, he accidentally made Deculein look like an absolute genius. He vowed to try again. Back in his office, Deculein breathed a sigh of relief. That stunt had drained almost all his remaining mana. Even with double the mana, he barely survived. And that is where we leave it. Stick around for what is next. Let's dive in. A stunning woman with snow-white hair and glassy eyes blocks Deculein, a face Jin-woo recognized instantly from his computer screen. She is Julie Vandea, Falden Deculein's fiancée, destined to become the ultimate knight. As for why she confronted him, Deculein stood her up a week ago. Having just reincarnated, Jin-woo has no clue, so he simply tells her he cannot remember. I tries to walk away, but Julie asks if he is running away again, just like he always did in the past. Realizing she won't let him off easily, he explains he has been sick, asking her to remind him about their actual promise. The original Deculein promised to confess his sins, while Julie swore to stay by his side, even if the world ended. But he actually forgot. Frustrated and hurt, Julie coldly tells him he can leave. After a brief pause, Deculein politely excuses himself and walks away, leaving a furious Julie behind. This was a political match. A rising genius mage paired with a legendary future knight. Their union was a massive win for both bloodlines and political power. To boost their family status, nobody opposed this. Julie accepted it for her clan. But then Deculein's massive secret got out. It was revealed that Deculein completely lacked magic talent. After a major incident, his proud achievements crumbled to dust. Both families swept it under the rug to avoid becoming laughingstocks. Julie could tolerate a loveless marriage, but she despised deceit. Honesty was her absolute creed as a knight. That is why she urged Deculein to keep his word and confess. Now pay attention. This is where he enters the Imperial University, the top-tier magic academy, which is basically an elite Ivy League. It is ultra-competitive, and Jin-woo wishes he arrived under better circumstances. Suddenly, a figure rushes forward, catching his attention. With a quick elbow strike, he drops the shadow, only to realize it is his carriage assistant, who was simply looking for him. Deculein asks if his name is Zoro. The boy corrects him, it is Alan. Back in the office, Alan hands over a document. It is the sponsorship list for rookie mages. The academy acts like a research institute, scouting fresh talent every year. But some names on this paper are literally glowing golden. This is because of Deculein's incredible passive trait. The super-rich trait lets him spot future profit. His eyes can detect raw talent, meaning these specific students will become absolute gold mines. The most eye-catching name is Ephraim Luna. In the game, Deculein is the villain who directly caused her father's tragic death. Deculein notices no one is sponsoring Ephraim. Alan explains that the other nobles are waiting to see what he does first. Everyone is walking on eggshells around him. Ephraim is a self-taught prodigy, but since she is destined to be his rival, if they follow the game's plot, Deculein is doomed. A villain's fate means having the entire world plotting your brutal death. In the game, Deculein dies in countless horrible ways. Stabbed through the heart, impaled by magic staffs, poisoned, you name it. I know what you're thinking. How do you survive that simple? You make choices the original arrogant villain never would have dreamed of. Deculein orders Alan to fetch specific books. To survive, he needs a massive fortune, since some death variables can be bought off. Another way is investing in rookie mages. But that is not enough. Too many powerful people still harbor deep hatred for him. They could strike at any moment. To truly survive, he needs a real solution. He has to become overwhelmingly powerful himself. Power is key, but Deculein's natural magic talent is mediocre. Without thorough preparation, he will not survive the storm. Luckily, the custom traits from his past life carried over. Although he lacks 4 full elements, he has some insane advantages. He can manipulate fire and earth. By combining them, he can activate Midas's hand to forcefully upgrade their hidden potential. This consumes raw mana to boost potential. In short, Deculein can control metal, allowing him to use telekinesis on deadly weapons. But to put this crazy theory into practice, he has to learn active control. Deculein decides to test his limits right now. Placing his hand on a book, he burns telekinetic equations directly into his brain. At first, his control is shaky. He slowly makes a pen hover. Success on his first try. Now basic telekinesis can be cast without a formal magic circle. But basic skills won't give him godlike power. Stymied, a crazy idea strikes him. What if he engraves magic arrays onto his body? In this world, larger magic circles mean greater power. By analyzing his body with understanding, he can engrave those runes directly. Engraving runes everywhere might tear a body apart, but he has the Iron Man trait. With 800 mana, he begins. He starts the process. Agonizing pain floods his system, feeling as if his bones are being shattered. It is pure torment. Yet Deculein does not even flinch. This is the power of his grace, of a noble trait. After a tense moment, his mana plummets to 1, leaving him exhausted. The attempt fails due to low mana, leaving only a single runic brand on his shoulder. At this rate, it will take 2 weeks to cover his entire body. A month after his lecture class finally begins. But the first day is self-study. Deculein leaves a wooden plaque instructing students to create something using the surrounding elements. And that's where we leave things. Trust me, you're going to want to see how Ephraim handles this incredibly irresponsible professor next time. All right, stick with me here. Ephraim just got bumped into, and she's about to recognize the culprit. It's Sylvia von Iliade. Ephraim wants to say something, but Sylvia acts like she doesn't even know her. 10 years ago, Sylvia's family surrounded her house, yet she doesn't even remember Ephraim. Unbelievable. Ephraim gets angrier by the second. Suddenly, her earth magic classroom project is completely snatched away. She senses mana pulling from a specific direction, and there's no doubt Sylvia is behind this. She demands to know why Sylvia stole her element, but Sylvia completely ignores her, fueling her rage. Why pretend you don't know me? Your family threatened mine and banned our magic. You must remember. Sylvia says she only remembers Ephraim's arrogant, useless father, who is now dead. That is the final straw. Students scream in panic. Ephraim is already charging up a massive spell, while Sylvia looks completely unfazed. Ephraim charges forward, ready to risk it all. Sylvia deploys her defensive magic, and then boom. Smoke clears and Ephraim is grabbing Sylvia's hair, daring her to repeat those words. But suddenly, a strange mass of dark light appears. The terrified students cry out in shock. It's a mana rift caused by their fight, and it's rapidly absorbing energy and preparing to detonate. Now pay attention, because if this rift blows, the flying shrapnel will kill absolutely everyone here. Just as Ephraim closes her eyes and tries to resist, the entire room suddenly falls dead silent. Professor Deculein has arrived, effortlessly freezing and disintegrating the deadly shards before they can strike. The magic students are left completely speechless by his insanely precise and dazzling display of power. Deculein cancels today's class and orders the troublemakers to stay behind. Everyone else is dismissed. Ephraim knows she is doomed. In the interrogation room, other professors arrive to meet with Deculein. They praise Deculein as a perfect role model, while Principal Adeline welcomes them to the room. They wonder who dared offend the Iliad family, laughing that some nameless commoner almost caused a disaster. Deculein knows these professors are just hypocritical foxes, siding with the powerful over a ruined noble. But he decides to change the outcome, especially when he sees a strange red aura around Ephraim. You and I both know the villain's fate is death, but if Ephorine dies, Deculein's survival is doomed. The disciplinary hearing begins, and the professors demand to know why they were fighting. Ephorine stays quiet, refusing to share how Sylvia insulted her father in front of their enemy. The professor pressures Ephorine, reminding her of the massive status gap between her and Sylvia. Since she won't talk, they ask Sylvia, who claims she simply ruined Ephorine's work by accident. Naturally, everyone sides with Sylvia, even suggesting that Ephorine should be expelled immediately. With no one to defend her, Ephorine can only stand there in silence, blaming Deculein for everything. The principal asks Deculein for his final opinion. Deculein steps forward to ask Ephorine a question. Expecting the worst, Ephorine is stunned when he asks if she truly believes she did nothing wrong. Even Sylvia is confused as Deculein asks again if she considers herself entirely innocent. No one understands this sudden move. Deculein ignores them and turns his attention to Sylvia. He asks Sylvia why she didn't stop the clash when she had the power. Is she that weak? Sylvia apologizes, admitting she wanted Ephorine to make a bigger mistake. Ephorine is utterly baffled. Why is Deculein questioning Sylvia instead? The professor argues that the attacker is at fault here, but Deculein counters that since he designed the class, they must be blaming him too. Ephorine is shocked. Principal Adeline steps. In deciding that kids grow through conflict, so neither student will be punished. Ephorine is completely stunned, as the old Deculein would have expelled her without a second thought. As they leave, the other professor continues to flatter Deculein, praising his unique way of handling things. Just then, Ephorine stops Deculein, determined to confirm something with him once and for all. She wants to ask if he remembers the name Luna, seeking answers about her father's death. Even if it ruins her standing with the disciplinary committee, she has to know the truth. But Deculein shuts her down, telling her not to waste her life on the past. What a wild twist. Let's jump back in. Ephorine is now certain. Deculein knows about her father, which is why he defended her. She believes he helped out of guilt and sympathy over her father's death. For now, knowing he hasn't forgotten is enough. The system alerts him that he avoided a death flag, earning 2 coins. Meanwhile, Glytheon is comforting Sylvia. He tells her to ignore Ephorine. Sure, she has talent, but she missed her golden window during the entrance exam 10 years ago. That was when Sylvia first met Ephorine. Both were tested and revealed to possess the legendary talent of an archmage. It is the absolute pinnacle of magic, the eternal tear. Even the Emperor avoids provoking anyone who reaches this godlike state. Only 3 wizards can hold the title of archmage in any generation. The very first to achieve it was Dermaku. The second is likely the Magic Tower's principal Adrian. The final slot is between Sylvia of House Iliad and Ephorine of the Ponsaluna family. That is why 10 years ago, House Iliade fabricated a cheap excuse to corner the Luna family, forcing Ephorine to forfeit her enrollment just to clear the path for Sylvia. Sylvia believes being an archmage is her destiny. Yet Ephorine's mocking question about being afraid still haunts her. Glytheon warns his daughter to forget Ephorine and keep her guard up around Deculein. He is extremely dangerous and a former prodigy, but Sylvia knows the professor already saw through her trap. He blocked Ephorine's mana right before it triggered her hidden spell, an explosive trap tuned specifically to Ephorine's mana. The bigger the disaster, the harsher Ephorine's punishment would have been. Yet Deculein saw it coming. Even with no detection magic around, he did not expose her, choosing to make a quiet move. Don't blink, because even a genius like Sylvia is starting to lose her mind trying to figure him out. Days later, back at his estate, Deculein prepares his next move. Saving Ephorine at the hearing was definitely the right play. It cut down his death flags and earned him currency. Still, he never expected that back during his first public lecture. The one asking questions was Ephorine herself. She hated him then, and now Sylvia has probably joined the club too, to finish a side quest. Deculein prepares for a high society banquet called the New Year's Flower. It costs 5 coins to open the shop. He needs to memorize these famous faces. They are all high-ranking nobles, and many names look incredibly familiar. He even spots Ihelm, a character he created himself as a developer. Seeing him makes him glad he showed up. A noble greets Deculein, and the moment his name is spoken, the entire crowd starts swarming him. I instantly regrets saying he was glad he came. But then he overhears a very familiar name, Ganesha. She is a major character he needs to build a connection with. He looks around unaware a red-haired woman is already watching him. That is Ganesha, a legendary adventurer, ranked 5th in early game combat power. Deculein, however, is still searching the crowd. He spots her and moves in, but someone suddenly blocks his path. It is Helm, the Imperial family's personal wizard. He brings up rumors that our professor hasn't made any progress in 3 years, but you and I know he's just begging for trouble. He's clearly trying to humiliate him. This guy was Deculein's old classmate and a massive rival. He grew bitter after Deculein stole the head professor title from him. Normally this trash talk would work, but it has absolutely zero effect on Jin-woo, the real issue. While dealing with this clown, Ganesha slipped away. As Helm keeps rambling, Deculein leans in close and whispers, "Get lost before I snap you in half." With that, he walks away. He has to find Ganesha fast, but a horde of other nobles immediately swarms him. Escaping to the balcony for fresh air, he finally spots her. Ganesha smiles clearly, knowing he was searching for her. Jin-woo realizes they already have a history. Deculein plays dumb and claims he is lost, but she calls his bluff immediately. She apologizes about their last mission, promising to return his deposit and the penalty fee if he just lets it go. Deculein realizes they were business partners. She admits she failed to bring him the talented child he requested. She grew too attached to the kid to hand her over. Deculein realizes his original self was up to his old tricks, using stolen prodigies to cover up his own talentless fraud of a life. Ganesha asks how long he plans to live like this. Truth is, he has no idea. Before Jin-woo took over this body, the original Deculein ruined everyone's trust and left a trail of broken lives. But now he tells her he is changing his ways. Ganesha instantly worries he might try to silence her. But as the developer Jin-woo knows, she is a top-tier monster. Trying to fight her is pure suicide. The original villain had no idea she could end him with a single finger. She possesses absolute defense and unstoppable power. Thanks to Jin-woo taking over, he has zero plans of sending assassins. Honestly, you and I can't blame her for thinking he completely lost his mind. What a wild turn of events. Stick with me, you and I are about to watch our main character outsmart everyone. He tells Ganesha he is leaving, but she still fears he will send assassins to end her. Deculein calmly explains that sending assassins would completely lack class, leaving Ganesha totally dazed. In the past, the original Deculein used his powerful family connections to pressure the adventurers. He forced the Adventurer Association to exploit Ganesha, meaning this meeting carried a very real death flag. Suddenly, the system alerts him that he successfully evaded the danger, rewarding him with 1 coin. This confirmation proves his quick talking just bypassed a fatal crisis. One wrong move in this world, and it is instant game over. Meanwhile, on the other side of the party, Julie's relative Relly complains about why she is just sitting there, all alone. He then asks how things are going with her fiancé, Professor Deculein, especially with all the rumors flying around. Julie bluntly admits that their relationship is absolutely terrible, prompting Relly to quickly warn her that she is speaking way too loudly. Just then, having finished his private business upstairs, Deculein calmly walks down the grand staircase, ignoring the whispers, without sparing Julie. Even a single glance, he simply walks right past her and leaves. The guests are completely baffled as to why the usually social professor is departing so early. He did not even look at his own fiancée on his way out. It makes everyone in the room wonder if those rumors about their terrible relationship are actually true. Because of his abrupt and incredibly fast exit, the entire high society now firmly believes that his romantic relationship with Julie has completely fallen apart, creating endless gossip. Of course, Jin-woo is completely oblivious to all this gossip. Suddenly, the system notifies him that he completed the New Year flower quest, rewarding him with 0.5 coins. 2 weeks pass after that grand banquet, and Deculein spends every single day training his body and psychokinesis. Since his physical mana is low, physical training is absolutely mandatory. Now you and I need to watch this part closely. A few days ago, he did some crazy experiments and almost died of sheer exhaustion. Fortunately, his Iron Man trait kicked in, and allowed him to barely survive. Ever since his tense meeting with Ganesha Deculein, realized he needs to become much stronger. Hai is determined to heavily enhance his metal manipulation skills, even planning to combine his engraved psychokinesis with precise fire control for maximum power. Hai even plans to transplant his monocore directly onto his psychokinesis. This shortcut bypasses the tedious process of learning spells, allowing him to grow stronger instantly. The experimental process was incredibly risky, but it made him realize that high-tier magic puts an immense physical burden on his body. That is when a sudden idea struck him: he must build muscle. Soon it is time to return to work. While sitting in the head professor's quiet office, he receives an official audit document sent directly from the Magic Tower's prestigious qualification committee, warning him of an upcoming review. The official letter states that to review the progress of his current magic research, an official hearing will be held in 6 months, requiring him to prepare everything beforehand. Hai needs to prepare all his research materials before that deadline. Realizing the danger, Jin-woo guesses that before he took over this villainous body, the original Deculein's research had completely stagnated without any progress. If things keep going this way, his situation is going to get extremely bad. In the game, Deculein was always a professor, meaning keeping this status might be a strict requirement for his survival. If he loses this prestigious title, he might lose his only remaining clue to escape this fantasy game and return to the real world. To find a quick solution, Deculein heads down to his personal research laboratory, hoping to find some useful notes, but the entire room is currently a complete disaster, filled with filth. The massive mess is likely because the original Deculein rarely visited his lab. Strangely, there is a bizarre pile of trash on the floor, looking as if someone purposely hid something beneath it. Whoever put it there probably wanted to gross Deculein out, so he would avoid inspecting the area. Fortunately, our main character can use his psychokinesis to easily move it away. Lifting the heavy trash away, he discovers a hidden research notebook. It seems someone encoded their research to prevent it from being stolen by greedy people. But to Deculein, that is a completely useless and futile effort. Okay, I know what you are thinking. Is it just a pile of trash? Well, think again, because when he uses his understanding skill, a brilliant golden light explodes. This research is absolutely incredible, but unfortunately, it is far from finished. Several crucial pages have been torn out, leaving behind massive blank gaps and theories that are actually completely incorrect at the end of the day. Yet even with those errors, the sheer potential of the research triggers his system. Inside, he finds a childhood photo of Ephraim, leading him to guess the true origin of this notebook. This must be the lost research of Ephraim's late father, hidden away to protect it from greedy eyes. It explains why her entire family hates Deculein so much. Their deep grudge makes perfect sense now. To fix this, Deculein decides to use his unique understanding trait to complete the thesis. But he also plans to add his own name as a co-author on the paper. After all, he desperately needs to show some academic results for his upcoming audit. Meanwhile, at a campus cafe, a group of commoner students gather. Their leader suggests that all commoner students must stick together to survive, asking Ephraim for her thoughts. But Ephraim secretly knows she is actually of noble descent, even though her family is broke. Even though her family lost all their land and wealth, they still expect her to lead them, since she is the only one who stood up to Sylvia. The group wants to register an official student club, but they desperately need an advising professor. Unfortunately, finding one is proving to be nearly impossible for them. A few names are thrown around, but all of those professors are notorious for looking down on commoners. Then one student suddenly speaks up. She unexpectedly suggests Professor Deculein. While Ephraim is distracted trying to eat her cake, the group leader suddenly tells her that she must be the one to ask Deculein to be their advisor. Ephraim is completely dumbfounded by this request, but the others agree, believing Deculein is fair because he treats nobles and commoners with the exact same cold indifference. They point out that thanks to him, she avoided heavy punishment, assuming the cold professor must favor her. But Ephraim knows his dark, terrifying side and is absolutely terrified of him wanting no part of this plan. She dreads the thought of meeting him again. Refusing to listen to their crazy plan, she bolts out of the cafe, hoping to escape the situation. She knows her presence would only make things worse. But just as she runs out, the group leader suddenly freezes in pure shock, making Ephraim turn around to see what happened. It turns out Professor Deculein himself is walking right past them. Her friend quickly hides in the back to cheer Ephraim on. Deculein is about to walk away without saying a single word. Gritting her teeth, she steps forward and hands him their club application, explaining that since every other professor ignored them, they had no choice but to ask for his generous help. Deculein takes the paper, signs it without even looking, and casually tells her to bring the detailed proposal to his office later. Ephraim is left standing there, completely stunned by his easy approval. She never expected him to agree so easily. It makes her wonder what his true motives are, and why on earth he is suddenly treating her so well after everything. She wonders if he is acting out of guilt or pity. Later during class, Julie notices her acting strange. You and I just witnessed a crazy start, and what happens next is even wilder. All right, let's dive back into this insane story, where a group of snobby nobles, led by Sylvia, are trashing our girl Ephraim. Ever since that last incident, she became their prime target, but she honestly couldn't care less. Right now, lectures are way more important. Deculein starts teaching basic magic, completely rewriting his old useless style. He even conjures a glowing flame circle, carefully demonstrating the technique to his students. This isn't just Ephraim's imagination. The old Deculein only bragged, but this version is unleashing pure magical brilliance. This innovative approach leaves the students stunned. Even the rival genius Sylvia is completely mesmerized by him. Deculein draws another magic circle, asking what happens if he connects them with one stroke. The flame turns a deep purple, flowing as smoothly as water. Sylvia can't even believe her own eyes. His lectures are masterfully structured. Usually, genius mages just use magic instinctively, viewing dry theories as a boring cage. If mages only stick to theories, their potential gets trapped in a rigid, lifeless box. They won't have time to actually practice. Too much theory ruins real-world execution. Now pay attention here. This is the paradox of magic. Elite wizards rely on raw intuition they can't even explain. It is absolutely mind-blowing. Ephraim is completely captivated, but when she returns to her dorm, she freezes. The door is covered in hateful curses, but lying outside is a sponsorship certificate. Who would dare support her? Thinking. It's a cruel prank. She plans to report the forgery to the academy. But when she checks with administration, she finds out the sponsorship is real. She is smiling so wide she thinks she is dreaming. Terrified that others might steal her new fortune, she runs back to pack her bags, ready to flee. In her panic, she bumps her head. But she's overjoyed. Someone finally recognizes her talent. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Deculein's sister Yariel is losing her mind because he went to another elite auction. Last time he wasted 10 million. But Deculein has a vital reason to be here. His advanced magic requires a rare metal that normal materials can't replace. Today's catalog has exactly what he needs, but soon he spots a familiar face, his fierce fiancée, Julie. She glares right at him, asking if he's heard about his own recent scandal. He sent 2 students to the disciplinary committee. Deculein shrugs, but Julie thinks he's destroying young mages, warning him that karma will eventually strike him down. I know what you're thinking, he's doomed, but Deculein knows she is officially severing all ties. Honestly, that suits him fine. He won't marry someone who completely hates him. Besides, staying near her carries a massive death flag. One slip and he dies at the wedding. The Julie he knows shouldn't be here. She must have come to confront him. Flustered, Julie quickly explains she also has an item she wants to buy here. Deculein finds her pouting face surprisingly cute. It's his first time seeing her like this, but he quickly snaps out of it. Could the original Deculein's feelings be bleeding into his mind? He guarded against this, but it still happened. Yet his heart isn't racing. Maybe he's overthinking. Suddenly, the auction officially begins. The first item is a basic vase, but in Deculein's eyes, it glows with a legendary gold aura. The bidding starts. Someone bids 1.5 million, but bidder 777. Deculein instantly drops 2.5 million to win it. The glow remains, meaning it's worth even more. He sweeps up a ring, scissors, and a necklace, shocking the crowd. Could it be Deculein? Julie scoffs, thinking bidder 777 is just a show-off. She only wants one thing, winter's fire. And the next item up is exactly that, the snowflake stone. Naturally, Deculein has his eyes set on it too. This legendary metal is perfect for forging elite weapons. Only dragon skin is more valuable. Both Deculein and Julie need it. Julie aggressively bids 30 million thinking she won, but 777 instantly counters at 31 million. Julie is losing her mind over this mysterious rival. Why are they targeting her? Then she realizes 777 is Deculein. She bids, and he counters instantly. The crowd assumes he is bidding for his fiancée, advising him to back down. Yielding would be more romantic, but Deculein is worried about making Julie hate him. If he steals it, will she hate him? It is a 3-year rarity. Risky but necessary. In the end, Deculein wins for 42 million. Trust me, you must see what comes next. All right, you and I are diving into a high-stakes auction where Deculein is putting on a terrifyingly intense show. This was not what Julie wanted. A year ago, Deculein bought countless jewels just to show off. He acted like she had to beg him for gems, which felt incredibly arrogant and humiliating to her. He should have known better. So she ruined their engagement back then. Yet this nightmare keeps repeating. Rumors are everywhere that his auction prize is for her while his marriage terms insult her knightly pride. These lies completely ruin her reputation, and she knows Deculein must be the source of all this gossip. She expects him to mock her by asking if she wants the snowflake stone ready to defend herself. But instead, Deculein genuinely apologizes and walks away, leaving Julie absolutely stunned by his sudden change. The arrogant noble she knew would never bow his head, but her sister Josephine quickly pulls her away. Deculein is relieved that no death flag triggered, proving how utterly pathetic the original host actually was. Back at the estate, his terrified maids warn him that his furious sister Yariel is waiting inside. She screams at him for wasting mine purchasing funds, but Deculein quickly reassures her that this was an investment. Yariel explodes, asking if she is just his garbage disposal, constantly cleaning up his endless expensive messes. Now watch closely here, because his death flag is starting to glow red, with dangerous villain energy. Failing to calm her means certain doom, but surviving this crisis will unlock massive system financial rewards. Yariel rants about her sacrifices, blaming him for her lack of a normal life and education. He spent 150 million gold in a day. But Deculein suddenly offers her the lordship. Yariel cannot believe her ears, so Deculein offers to make a magically binding life or death vow to prove it. Though she thinks he has lost his mind, she blushes and warns him that he better not back out. Yariel rushes off to fix the accounts, and the system immediately rings with a success notification. He gains 2 precious system coins, glad to trade the tedious family head duties for his survival. Suddenly a voice echoes from the window, and the rogue Kaneshia praises his unexpected growth. Deculein sighs at the uninvited guest, but Kaneshia claims she just stumbled upon some massive news. Hai scoffs, saying Yariel is a natural leader, but Kaneshia drops a bomb about their family lineage. Wait, you and I both know the original lore, but this secret bloodline detail was never in the game. Kaneshia is confused, since Deculein hired her to find this truth, but his reaction is surprisingly calm. Hai declares that blood or not, Yariel is his sister, prompting Kaneshia to promise her absolute silence. She warns him that the notorious syndicate group 642 is currently targeting his newly acquired auction treasures. Dropping a secret note, she vanishes, leaving him to ponder the truth about his sister's adoption. To Kim Jin-woo, bloodlines do not matter. He only cares about protecting the sister of his host. Meanwhile, Kaneshia meets with her mercenary allies. Noting that the professor has turned into a completely different person, her team is shocked by his rare kindness, realizing they no longer need to view him as an enemy. They swear to keep his secret safe as they prepare to slip away undetected into the night. The next morning, back in his Grand Magic Tower office, some incredibly promising news finally arrives. The system shop is finally unlocked, allowing him to purchase game-breaking upgrades once he saves enough coins. He only has 6 chances to use this divine shop, making every single purchase choice extremely critical. The prices double with every upgrade tier, so he must spend his resources with absolute strategic precision. Basic training is not enough to survive future threats, so he needs a massive boost to his magic. His loyal assistant, Alan, suddenly enters the office to deliver some alarming news from the morning paper. Notorious mage killers, Luke and Hack are on the loose, a lethal threat to any ordinary wizard. But Deculein remains completely unfazed, calmly dismissing the threat before preparing to head to the Grand Library. Before leaving, he casually asks Alan if he wants a promotion, catching the young assistant completely off guard. Deculein presents him with a prestigious Yuckline family crest bracelet, securing his loyalty with one brilliant gesture. Since most allies have abandoned him, Deculein must do everything he can to keep this talented wizard close. He drops a fat stack of cash for dinner. Stick with me to see what happens next. All right, let's jump back into the chaotic life of our overpowered villain. He needed to study because of a flawed thesis, but inside he catches an intruder. It is Sylvia, totally shocked to see him. 10 minutes ago, she was almost blocked at the door. She only got in using a magic communicator. Her passion decoding rare, ancient texts. Since the elves vanished, finding novels about them has become nearly impossible. That is exactly why she is here. She never expected to run into Deculein. He immediately threatens her with the disciplinary committee, but she quickly explains. She got permission for a specific book, but Deculein says rules are rules. Anyone breaking rules deserves punishment. Then he telekinetically snatches her book away. It is a cheesy elf romance novel. Sylvia claims it is strictly for linguistic research. He hands it back, warning her that next time there will be no mercy. He walks off, leaving her humiliated. But she wonders how he even knew elf language. It is incredibly hard to learn. Later, during outdoor training, professors complain about the location. The students are energetic. Dark Mountain is far from the academy, but perfect for training. It is a treasure trove of magical materials, but crawling with deadly poisonous pests. It is guarded by staff, but this week's supervisor hasn't been chosen yet. Deculein takes the shift. Suddenly, a system alert pops up with a new quest, and feels a strange pull to this terrifying place. Hours later, the class ends. Ephraim, now rich, treats everyone to dinner. Their club application is finally submitted. They chat about classmates visiting Dark Mountain, a notorious place where bad things happen. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream echoes from the direction of Dark Mountain, and they bolt. Pay attention here. Ephraim charges straight ahead, entering a bizarre, creepy zone. She hears desperate cries for help and spots a creepy, faceless, long-haired woman. The woman shrieks wildly. Suddenly, a fierce, imposing Deculein appears on the scene. Ephraim demands why he is attacking a civilian, but he tells her to look. The woman morphs into a horrific monster. He flings Ephraim away using telekinesis. The hunt begins. The demon is furious about losing its prey and attacks savagely. Even at a distance, the beast catches up. Deculein feels a strange physical shift. The beast uses illusions, but Deculein's bloodline is boiling with sheer unbridled rage. His Yuckline bloodline purifies demonic aura, upgrading his mana, but making him extremely aggressive. You and I both know this demon just signed its own death warrant. Deculein kills it in one strike, earning double currency rewards for the kill. The Yuckline trait fully awakens. He curses as the demon's blood covers him. The demon's arrival signals the start of the real game. Later, Ephraim wakes up. Confused, she only remembers the forest. The nurse explains a demon attacked last night. She fainted from the illusion's shock. Surprisingly, head Professor Deculein saved her life. The mountain is damaged and under investigation. She wonders why Deculein keeps saving her. She was out for 36 hours, and it is already Wednesday. She is late. She dashes out and meets Julia, then notices a strange new classroom layout. Deculein walks in with a stranger. He introduces him as the new assistant. Everyone is shocked because Deculein never had assistants before. She remembers her father. He remained a low-level researcher until 30, never getting a real chance. It makes no sense why Deculein suddenly hired a complete stranger as his assistant. Deculein announces a physical test. Assistant Alan passes out bracelets to all the students. And trust me, you and I are about to see this rivalry get seriously intense. Let's dive right into the academy. We're genius. Sylvia finishes her exam in just 25 minutes, leaving Deculein absolutely stunned by her perfection. Before leaving, she shoots a smug, confident look at a struggling Ephraim. Ephraim grits her teeth, desperate to finish, but over the next 3 hours, everyone else packs up and leaves. She is completely doomed. She cannot even compete with Sylvia, and as the clock ticks down, she is left totally alone with absolutely nothing to show. She spirals into self-doubt, wondering if she is just a talentless failure who will not even survive graduation. Forget about revenge. But just as she decides to quit, Deculein's cold voice cuts through the room, asking how much longer he has to wait. She cannot believe he is still here. Deculein immediately scolds her for losing her composure over such an incredibly simple task. As she stammers an apology, he snaps, warning her that losing her focus before the enemy means she will never defeat them. He delivers a final crushing blow, telling her she is a massive disappointment before walking out, left alone in the quiet classroom. His harsh words burn deep inside her mind, triggering her stubborn pride. She grits her teeth and restarts the assignment, determined to prove him wrong. Outside, Deculein secretly smiles, knowing her true potential. Sure, it takes her over 6 long hours, but this harsh training is vital for the dark future ahead. Pay close attention here. A demon just emerged from the dark mountains, signaling that the deadly main quest has officially begun. This brutal era will require key heroes to survive, and Ephraim is destined to be one of those absolute powerhouses. Deculein knows she will rise to the occasion, even if her terrifying growth eventually threatens his own survival. But he is not about to let his student get expelled either. His pride simply will not allow it. Once she finally leaves, he steps inside to grade her work. It took her exactly 6 hours and 25 minutes to finish. Though her amateur habits still show her final result is easily first-rate, triggering a sub-quest complete notification with 1 path currency. With his reward in hand, he heads out only to find a powerful figure waiting for him, Julie's influential father. This man is aggressively pushing the marriage forward. And worse, he ranks as the 3rd strongest fighter in the entire early game. Why would such a monster seek him out? Deculein panics, wondering if a new deadly death flag has just been triggered. I cannot fight someone this strong. Suddenly, Julie's brother Zeeth steps forward, having heard rumors about the couple's recent rocky relationship. Zeeth politely invites him out for a family dinner, but this friendly behavior only makes Deculein highly suspicious. Forced to agree, Deculein realizes Zeeth is fully determined to play matchmaker and resolve their issues. He has absolutely no room to decline. Zeeth always puts his family first, and crossing him would be extremely dangerous. Let's pivot over to Julie, who is currently locked in a fierce argument with Zeeth about this forced dinner after her massive fight with Deculein. She claims she is too busy training her knights, but Zeeth snaps at her to stop acting like a child. He explains that Deculein bought the rare stone just to forge her a powerful weapon, which only makes Julie even angrier. Zeeth loses his temper, shouting that canceling the engagement is completely absurd, especially since she promised to sacrifice her feelings for the family. He insists. Nobody loves her more than Deculein, demanding to know if she already loves someone else or if she simply doubts Deculein's magical capabilities. Julie denies both, but Zeeth cuts her off coldly, ordering her to show up for the dinner date anyway. Left with no choice, a frustrated Julie aggressively swings her sword to vent, drawing praise from a nearby knight. This is Baron, a loyal knight under her command, who quickly assures her that he completely understands her pain. He whispers that a wicked scoundrel like Deculein is unworthy of her. But Julie immediately cuts his gossip short. She sternly warns him to maintain his knightly honor and avoid petty slander before quickly walking away from him. Seeing her distress, Baron decides to take matters into his own hands to protect her happiness. Back at his estate, Deculein locks away all his newly acquired auction treasures inside a secure safe. Only his most prized possession remains the stubborn snowstone, which has been constantly and actively resisting his dark magical energy. This legendary item had an incredibly high price tag in the original game, but absolutely no instructions on how to actually tame it. Recalling an old folk method of tempering materials, he decides to inject his mana into the stone once more. But after burning through 2,000 mana, his comprehension level only crawls up by 0.1%. At this incredibly slow rate taming, it will take a whole year, so he pauses to prepare for his dinner appointment. Glancing at his calendar, he sees 2 circled dates. One is today, and the other is a mysterious date marked before he reincarnated. A death anniversary in 3 days. Shaking off the chill, he arrives at the restaurant where Zeeth guides him inside. And trust me, You and I can see why the original villain fell so incredibly hard, because a dressed-up Julie is absolutely stunning. Stick with me. Deculein was so completely distracted by Julie, he forgot this terrifying person had also arrived. It is Julie's older sister, Josephine. Pretending to attend the wedding, she is a dangerous woman, highly wary of Deculein, and completely antisocial. She is actually the boss of the continent's Shadow Intelligence Network, a top-tier powerhouse on par with Zeit, and she absolutely loves teasing Julie. Messing with her sister is her absolute favorite hobby. Deculein does not know why she has not killed him yet, but her bloodlust is heavy. Josephine is the deadly variable this time. Deculein must play nice with Julie to survive. Just then Zeit speaks up. Zeit wants to talk business before dinner, asking when the wedding will happen. Hearing this, Julie immediately screams. She yells for her brother to stop, but Zeit quickly silences her, while Josephine watches. To survive, Deculein has to step in. He declares that the decision is entirely Julie's, and she can cancel the engagement any time. This makes Julie grind her teeth. Zeit warns him not to mention cancellation so easily. If they are distant, they should work to get closer. Besides, the elders will never agree. Julie shouts to interrupt her brother, demanding a private talk with Deculein. Zeit and Josephine leave, leaving the two of them alone. Julie instantly demands to know what he is planning and what he really wants from her this time. Now watch closely. Deculein knows Josephine is eavesdropping outside, waiting to strike if he messes up. This is his chance. Josephine does not know how well Kim Woo-jin understands her. Making her believe he loves Julie is his only path to survival. Deculein tells Julie his words were sincere. Josephine listens closely outside, while Julie refuses to believe a single word. Deculein explains that they cannot easily break this engagement anyway. At this point, neither of their families can stop it. Julie slams the table in a rage. Before their engagement, he used every scheme possible, bribing her family elders. He even tried to force her to leave her night order and join his, claiming combat was too dangerous. When she refused, he spread rumors. Kim Woo-jin knows all of this. The original Deculein was completely obsessed and crazy, attempting to destroy everything around Julie. That is why she hates him. Deculein calmly admits his past mistakes, acknowledging how much he restricted her and promising never to do it again. Still, Julie does not buy it. Deculein counters, pointing out that her own siblings are just as calculating as he is. They stop her from breaking the engagement for their own gain, not just reputation. To be a true knight, she must leave her family. Julie is stunned. Deculein admits he is not good enough for her, but he has devised a clever solution to help her. They will keep the engagement, but never marry. Since their family's interests are tied, they can use this arrangement as her shield. This way, she can pursue her dreams. Yet Julie still suspects he is secretly plotting some sort of evil scheme. He asks for nothing in return, except for one thing: to see her smile at him once a month. This completely flusters her. Even Josephine, watching from the shadows, blushes. Deculein only said this to bypass the deadly variable, but it worked. Let's pause here. Jin-woo actually finds her adorable, finally realizing he is inheriting Deculein's real love. Though Julie recovers and claims she will not be fooled, Josephine decides to let them have their moment for now. The system alerts him that he overcame the death variable, earning 2 coins. 3 days later, he visits a cemetery on a marked Memorial Day. The graves reflect the warm sunset. Here his soul connects with the environment instantly, because this place holds Kim Woo-jin's own memories. It takes him back to the real world before he transmigrated. Late at night, his manager and ex-girlfriend, Yu-ara, suggested adding a secret Easter egg. She wanted to expand Deculein's lore. But back then, Woo-jin complained that it would just mean more exhausting overtime work for them. Yu-ara wanted to infuse the creator's love into the game. Not understanding her, Woo-jin told her to do whatever she wanted. She insisted it was a brilliant concept and promised it wouldn't go to waste. Her plan was to give Deculein a tragic fiancé, a fiancé who would be separated from him by death. Yu-ara was so excited, making Woo-jin wonder what kind of Easter egg she created. To recover his lost memories, Woo-jin searches the cemetery. Surprisingly, he stumbles upon a gravestone bearing a familiar name. It is Yu-ara's gravestone. He cannot comprehend why she would put her own name on a prop in this game. Deculein was modeled after Woo Jin, and his deceased fiancée was modeled after Yu Ara. Why did she do this? He touches the stone as his hand brushes her name. His past emotions instantly trigger, and her voice whispers in his mind as memories flood back. He remembers her pale smile draping her blue coat over him on freezing winter nights and quietly supporting him through his hardest times. 7 years of unwavering devotion. As Woo Jin weeps over these precious memories, a strange man approaches him cursing a filthy mage. Thanks to Deculein's Iron Man trait, Woo Jin quickly regains his composure and wipes his tears as a figure appears. The man standing before him is Lukalok, who is shocked that the famous noble Deculein actually recognizes him. Of course, Deculein knows him. In the game's mid-stages, this man is the ultimate nightmare for any magic user. He has the exclusive skill Mage's Bane. Trust me, you and I need to see how he handles this terrifying threat. Let's jump in. Within, Rukok's range magic is completely blocked and he charges straight ahead. Deculein calmly dodges the fierce rush, easily evading several more brutal strikes in a row. Any normal mage would panic, but Deculein is different. He lands a heavy punch, leaving his opponent totally confused. What's happening? Anti-mage tricks don't work on me. Deculein then slams his boot right onto Rukok. To understand this, we go back 10 days. Deculein spent 10 coins to upgrade his mana quality. Now his spells carry way more power. The system confirms his adaptation is complete, and he prepares for the next phase. He casually grips a metal handrail, leaving a deep dent. Even Deculein is shocked by his own strength. Now pay attention, because his physical body was reinforced too. He beats Rukok down, overcoming yet another deadly death variable. He earns 2 coins. His newly upgraded mana also enhanced his Iron Man trait, making this boss fight an absolute breeze. Rukok keeps cursing, calling him a pathetic worm without magic. But Deculein already knows his secret. His anti-magic power comes from pure rage, but it is failing him. Deculein decides to provoke him further. You are a red demon, aren't you? Rukok freezes in shock. This feared clan is known to the world as Demon Kin. They live in hiding across the continent. As natural enemies of mages, magic was created to destroy them. This bitter conflict is a core part of the game's main quest. Because of their bloodline, their lives are always in danger. Hunters are likely purging them right now. Deculein admits he understands their oppression, but killing innocents makes them no better than monsters. Rukok snaps, telling him to shut up and just kill him. But Deculein replies that the red demons are innocent. Rukok thinks it is a sick joke. But Deculein states he is a noble of Deculein who never loses his composure. As a high noble, he rarely loses his elegance. In fact, there is only one exception: facing demons. The ancient Deculein bloodline hunts demons, their blood boiling with an uncontrollable instinct. Yet look at me. Have I lost my composure? Am I shaken by your desperate insults? So you are indeed human. Rukok is completely stunned as Deculein speaks with absolute sincerity. A noble always keeps his word, so you can trust me. Right then, footsteps echo nearby. Watch this. Deculein kicks Rukok unconscious, handing him over to a very impressed officer who praises his form. Calling it poster-worthy, the officer watches as Deculein casually casts a spell, materializing a brilliant white light. The officer is mesmerized by such elegance. Knowing standard restraints won't hold a red demon, Deculein hands over a specially conjured magic steel wire. The officer admits they have no idea how Rukok escaped the magic radar. Deculein asks how he arrived so quickly. The officer explains they received an anonymous tip. Hidden nearby, a mysterious figure listens closely before Deculein finally departs. Fortunately, the crisis ends without bloodshed. The silent watcher whispers that they never wanted to cause harm. The next day, Deculein receives an invitation to the legendary Becht conference, held only once every 15 years. As Deculein trains, his sister Yariel delivers the parchment letter, claiming caring for family is simply her duty. The letter warns that a demon has emerged in the mountains of darkness, summoning mages to convene. The system triggers a new main quest. Deculein tells her they must travel together in a week. Yariel suggests hiring guards for their safety. She suggests bringing their driver, a former knight, but Deculein flatly refuses. Yariel insists that protection is absolutely mandatory. Without guards, the road to Becht could easily turn deadly. Deculein asks if she is actually worried. Yariel quickly denies it, claiming she only wants him alive, so he can properly pass down the family headship. She promises to personally hire reliable guards. Meanwhile, at the Night Order headquarters, Julie is busy training her fellow recruits. An old knight nearby looks deeply troubled, holding an important request he is hesitant to report. Baron suddenly appears and startles him. The old knight explains that the request is to guard Deculein's entire train journey. Though annoyed, Baron believes they should accept it because completing this high-profile mission will bring massive fame. It will also boost their finances. The old knight still worries about Julie's bad history with Deculein, but Baron assures him. Relieved, the old knight goes to inform Julie, leaving Baron with a dark expression. Meanwhile, invitations to the Grand Becht conference are sent out. Mages from all over the continent, not just the Magic Tower, are packing their bags for this gathering. This summit represents the absolute peak of the magic world. Only prestigious elite figures from the greatest noble houses are invited to attend. Known as the Mage's Wrath, the event is heavily guarded. At the station, Julie is busy organizing her escort knights. They wait for their client. Soon a sharply dressed Deculein arrives, and trust me, things are about to get wild. All right, you and I are jumping right back into the action where things get crazy. Deculein notices something off. The hired guards are actually Julie's Night Order, and they are blushing while promising to do their absolute best. They swear to keep everyone safe, leaving Deculein totally confused. But Julie is blushing because she remembers his old request. He wanted her to smile at him at least once a month. Now her face is completely red. She has absolutely no idea what to do, or if she should actually smile right now. How is she even supposed to smile? A casual one, or something else? She is totally lost. The old knight finds his captain incredibly respectable for trying this hard to adapt to someone she dislikes. Just as the old man tries to step in and smooth things over, Baron walks up to greet them as one of their main guards. The veteran knight tells Professor Deculein to rest easy, claiming this young guy is the absolute strongest in their entire order. However, Deculein immediately notices something unsettling. Baron's hand is resting directly on his sword hilt. To absolutely safe, he activates his special system vision to check the guy's information, yet he still cannot see any suspicious energy or strange aura coming off of Baron. Baron even volunteers to escort Deculein directly to his private carriage. Just as that happens, Julie says goodbye and starts to walk away. But halfway down the path, she suddenly stops, turns around and struggles to show something unexpected. She forces out a very strained, awkward smile. The old knight has no idea what is happening, but seeing her effort, Deculein cannot help but let a tiny smile slip onto his own face. She was actually trying hard to keep her promise. A few hours later, the train Deculein is riding starts filling up with passengers, so he tells Baron to go and take a quick break. Now pay attention, because this next part is where the real danger begins. The journey to the Becht conference is famously known as the Graveyard of Mages, simply because these trains are always targeted by brutal surprise attacks. To survive this dangerous trip, you absolutely must select a safe train. But to guarantee a 100% safe ride, a noble would normally have to buy secret information through shady underground criminal connections. The original owner of this body would have done that without hesitation. But for our main character, Jin-woo, executing that plan is just too difficult. Since transmigrating, he has completely lost access to all of those old shadowy networks. So Deculein had to prepare in other ways before leaving, like studying martial arts manuals. Meanwhile, his assistant Alan is already fast asleep next to him. He is sleeping deeply, likely because he was too excited to sleep the night before. Just a few days ago, Deculein had asked Alan if he wanted to come along to the dangerous conference. Alan had cried tears of gratitude back then. Knowing the immense danger, but still choosing to come, proves this assistant is far more ambitious than he looks. After this stop, the very next station is their final destination, Becht. Since everything has been completely peaceful so far, Deculein actually wonders if an attack is even coming. Luckily, he wore high-tier defensive gear just in case. He even reinforced his robes using his Midas's hand skill, and went as far as lining the inside of the carriage with reinforced wood-steel fabric. This extra shielding significantly boosted their overall defenses, and he even prepared a protective outfit for Alan. Despite all these solid preparations, Deculein still looks deeply concerned. Using his Midas's hand skills so much recently has drained almost all of his mana, making these defenses absolutely crucial. Still, it would be best if nothing actually happened. You saw that coming, didn't you? Let's see how our main character handles this. While the train is speeding along, a massive explosion suddenly rips through one of the carriages, blowing it wide open. Rewinding to a few days before Deculein even departed, we see Sylvia sitting on a train, peacefully reading a book. Her father asks if she has too much homework since she missed several days of school. Sylvia is not worried about Ephraim catching up. She is just eager to attend Deculein's next lecture. She asks her father why they have to travel to Becht so early. They could have easily stayed and relaxed for a few more days. Hearing this, Glythian falls into deep thought and asks his daughter if she has ever heard of the rumors, specifically the dark rumor that the road to Becht is the graveyard of magicians. Sylvia thought it was just a silly myth, but her father solemnly explains that people lose their lives during every single assembly. 15 years ago, 11 powerful mages died on this route. For a very long time, Becht has only issued summons to prestigious magic families, and being chosen is a massive honor. The 20 participating families are written into history. But failing to show up means permanent expulsion from the ranks. Since new rising families are allowed to fill those vacancies, the easiest way to select a new family is quite brutal. Any rising family wanting to join the magical elite will target the existing noble families on their way to the conference. By eliminating them, they can easily secure a coveted spot. Hearing this, Sylvia asks why they cannot just put an end to this senseless violence. Her father has to explain the harsh, cruel reality and traditional rules of this magic world. None of the 12 great magic families started at the top. If anyone tries to stop this custom, they will be targeted. They would instantly become enemies of every other magic family. In this world, dying on the dangerous road to the conference is treated exactly like dying of natural causes. Back on Deculein's train, a few days later, a loud explosion suddenly echoes through the air. Baron hears the blast and immediately tenses up. But hearing the exact same noise, Deculein remains completely expressionless, only slightly furrowing his brow. He quickly prepares to react as another loud blast echoes instantly, waking Alan up from his deep sleep. Deculein's carriage is directly targeted, is blown open, leaving a massive hole. Alan frantically screams for Deculein to look outside because the entire train is now literally floating in mid-air. Deculein is relieved his hard work paid off, having already mastered psychokinesis and prepared extensive defenses. Meanwhile, the attackers grumble about having to target the entire train just for one man. Their leader quickly tells them to stop whining, reminding his entire crew that they will receive an incredibly massive financial reward once this highly dangerous mission is successfully completed. The assassins quickly leap into the carriage through the newly blasted hole. Standing tall, Deculein coldly demands to know who these insolent, rude fools think they are dealing with. One attacker lunges straight at Deculein, but everything is already within his calculations. Several massive, sharp metal spikes instantly impale the assassin, leaving his assistant Alan screaming out in pure terror. To quiet him down, Deculein knocks Alan out cold with a quick strike. Just then, Baron arrives at the scene, and Deculein orders him to get Alan out of here. He tells him to get Alan to safety and evacuate the remaining passengers. Without any hesitation, Baron grabs the unconscious assistant and immediately jumps right off the floating train into the open air. Watching them leave, Deculein recalls how surprisingly soft Alan felt when he knocked him out. He seems to realize something, but decides to finish the fight first. He needs to deal with these attackers before overthinking things. Looking at the remaining assassins, he coldly declares that their lives will end right here on this train. Baron has already successfully brought Alan to a safe landing spot, looking back up at the floating train with a very mysterious expression. Meanwhile, Deculein quickly wipes out every single assassin left on board. And that's where we leave things. Trust me, you are going to want to see what happens next. Exhausted and with his mana completely drained, Deculein collapses. With his mana completely drained, Baron suddenly appears to rescue him. But stick with me because something here is terribly wrong. Baron's eyes are completely different from before. While Deculein is internally panicking from the ambush, this guy shows absolutely zero fear. Then, something shocking happens. A sinister red aura begins to glow and radiate from Baron's body. Deculein realizes this is his fated villain path. Baron had hidden his traits to lower his guard. The traitor draws his sword. He mocks Deculein, declaring he must end his life personally. Deculein asks who is behind this, but Baron cuts him off immediately. He refuses to hear his master's name from Deculein's mouth. For Julie's sake, he claims Deculein must die. Deculein realizes Julie is truly innocent. But Baron is the strongest knight in the order, and Deculein only has 10 mana left. As Baron charges, Deculein plays his only card. He cancels the telekinetic magic supporting the train, sending the entire carriage plummeting. Meanwhile, on the other side, Sylvia's knight asks if she wants some ice cream, but she is completely sick of it. She learns that the Deculein and Iliade families haven't arrived. Sylvia sighs, leaving the knight wondering who she is waiting for. Alone, Sylvia mutters Deculein's name. She remembers visiting her late mother's grave, complaining about how terrible of a professor he was. I was a strict teacher who piled on homework. But don't blink, because what Sylvia discovers next is mind-blowing. Peering through the trees, she was stunned to find Deculein kneeling in front of a grave. She assumed a cold man like him never mourned the dead. But when he stood up, she saw tears on his face. This shocked her completely. The arrogant, overbearing professor was actually crying right there in the open. Though she disliked him, that image lingered in her mind. Now she recalls her father's warning about train raiders. Worrying about his safety, Sylvia uses a mana stone to practice a unique magic she learned from his class. Among magic's 3 key attributes, origin is the most unique. It stems directly from the mage's soul. Channeling her tricolor mana through the stone, she begins shaping a form. A brilliant light bursts forth, manifesting a beautiful creature born from the primary colors of her mana. Naming the magical bird Asuka, she injects her mana so it can observe him on her behalf. Meanwhile, back at the wreckage, the train is dangling off a cliffside. Deculein has several broken bones, but his Iron Man trait slowly kicks in. But the danger isn't over. Baron is already charging down at him, looking completely unharmed. Deculein fires a spell to stop him, but it shatters uselessly against Baron's heavy magic barrier. As the traitor closes in, Deculein desperately hurls crystal shards with his telekinesis, but they easily get smashed. Baron is simply too powerful. Even at full strength, Deculein might lose. Yet he refuses to back down. His unyielding spirit trait keeps his mind perfectly sharp, completely blocking out any mental interference during battle. Baron is confident he can crush him, but Deculein leaps back as his crystal defense is shattered to pieces. Deculein is totally out of options. I know what you're thinking, is it game over? Will he wake up in his office? Just as Baron's sword lunges forward, Sylvia's magical bird arrives, and a strange buzzing sound warps the surrounding space. In a sudden flash, a sharp, invisible force slices clean through Baron's sword-wielding wrist. Before anyone can react, Baron's hand is severed. He roars in agony, and Deculein senses his golden opportunity. Using his remaining mana, Deculein drives a telekinetic strike into Baron's leg, sending the stumbling knight off the train, plummeting toward the abyss. Baron frantically stabs his dagger into the carriage wall, hanging on. Deculein slowly walks over. He looks down at the struggling knight. Baron angrily demands to know what magic was used against him. Deculein has no answers. He asks why Baron harbors such intense hatred when they have no real conflict. Baron spits back that it is for Julie. Deculein is confused. If she didn't order this, what is she to him? Baron laughs, saying Deculein could never understand. Years ago, Julie had helped a wealthy noblewoman catch a young intruder. The boy kept screaming that it was their fault. The noblewoman claimed he scaled the high wall and hurt her son. Julie investigated the scene. Scaling such a massive wall proved the boy possessed incredible physical talent. She promised to take the young thief to the authorities. Along the way, the boy kept struggling to break free. Julie knew the nobles were corrupt, but told him violence was still wrong. She then offered him a chance to follow her. She promised to train him to handle danger. He only asked if he would get fed. That was their first meeting. He eventually joined the Knights, but his background kept him isolated. The only person who ever showed him warmth was Captain Julie. For Baron, staying by her side was everything. You and I are going to want to see what happens next. All right, let's jump back into the story of a devoted knight whose love became his ultimate curse. To protect his master, Baron had to kill Deculein, the man whose past self caused all this endless misery. But he is dead wrong. Our main character will fix these sins and rewrite this villain's tragic fate. Deculein reaches out, swearing he will never hurt Julie. But Baron's eerie silence tells him something is terribly wrong. The death flag is still active, and it is getting worse. Furious, Deculein realizes this knight has absolutely zero regrets. Baron refuses to back down. Grabbing a mana crystal, Deculein curses the knight's complete and utter foolishness. Your selfish choice today will haunt Julie forever. With that, he hurls the deadly crystal straight at Baron. Miles away, Julie shivers. Her mentor tells her not to worry, but plunging off the cliff, Baron prays for her safety, hoping his master finds peace. Meanwhile, a magical bird created from pure mana is circling high above the train tracks. Through its eyes, Sylvia witnesses the whole clash. Deculein has just killed his own guard knight. Well, technically, it was self-defense since Baron attacked first. Just then, Sylvia's guards arrive for the big meeting. She wonders if Deculein will even show up. Meanwhile, Security Deputy Chief Lilia arrives at the wrecked train scene. Her officers explain that chaos like this always happens during the Becht conference. Surprisingly, there are 0 casualties so far, but Deculein and his assistant Alan are missing. Questioning the passengers, Lilia hears rumors of a mysterious savior. Now watch closely, someone actually shows her a photo of the train floating in mid-air. Pure magic. Lilia is completely baffled. Suddenly, a magical voice whispers directly into her ear, Knight Baron is dead. I tried to assassinate Professor Deculein, but the professor survived. Lilia looks around, but the messenger is nowhere to be seen. Just then, a dark silhouette slowly steps out from the shadows. It is him, Professor Deculein. He knows that without that bizarre spatial anomaly, he would have lost to a common knight. If some mysterious force had not intervened, he would have been the one falling down that cliff. He hates how weak he is and wonders who saved him. That is when Lilia approaches him for questioning. Deculein realizes it is already 3:30 p.m. He only has 6 hours left before the big event. The Becht conference is starting. Lilia asks who he is traveling with, but Deculein just asks about the next train. Suppressing her annoyance, she explains his options, but when she turns around to ask again, Deculein has vanished. An officer reveals he used acceleration magic to dash off. Lilia is stunned. Fighting assassins, and now this. You and I both know his mana pool is supposed to be trash, so how does he have this much energy? It is nearly 10 p.m. at the conference hall, and Deculein is still missing as the opening announcement begins. An overwhelming surge of raw magical pressure suddenly sweeps over the entire room, silencing the crowd. Even Sylvia is breathless. That is the great Elder Destined, the closest man alive to a legendary archmage. He is practically a living myth. The roll call begins, listing the names of the continent's most powerful families. Leaders from the Plan, Bioland, and Laying families are called. Finally, they reach the prestigious Yuckline family. Deculein is absent. The speaker reminds everyone of the rules: miss 3 roll calls and you are disqualified. Their noble magic status will be stripped. Erasing the Yuckline name would be the biggest scandal in 200 years. Whispers break out about how useless Deculein is. Even Sylvia wonders how he managed to survive this long. No one here cares if he fails, but Sylvia cannot look away. The second and final calls ring out. Still nothing. But just as they prepare to banish the family forever, the heavy doors slam open. Sylvia turns in shock. He actually made it. Against all odds, Deculein steps into the grand hall. He calmly brushes off the dust, adjusts his hair, and looks flawless, leaving Sylvia completely speechless. The head of the Yuckline family has arrived. The meeting erupts into a heated debate over a dark mountain demon. The Plan family suggests new restrictions, wanting the magic academies and the Holy Church to collaborate on this threat. By deploying mages to suspicious zones, they can neutralize the danger. Surprisingly, no one opposes this plan. With that settled, the host calls for a short recess. Deculein is utterly exhausted at this point. Using non-stop acceleration magic to get here has drained every single drop of his mana and physical energy. Yet he maintained a flawless, calm facade. Honestly, you and I have to admit, his willpower is unmatched. His assistant Alan runs over, apologizing for being locked out. Deculein just sighs, needing a moment to rest. All right, you and I are diving right back in as the meeting resumes with today's most sensitive topic right next to Deculein. How to deal with the red demon race, which won't pass easily as Baton from the Bioland family claims they are. Like cockroaches, breeding in the dark and feeding on human society, while Ethan's of the Guran family asks for his proof. Is there any way to distinguish humans from them? But Baton wants them wiped out, demanding the Imperial Magic Tower assist. Ethan's strongly disagrees, sparking a heated argument. Deculein watches, knowing their massive division will lead absolutely nowhere, as Baton insists. The Red Demons are uniting under a leader with a dark conspiracy. But Ethan shoots this down as baseless speculation. He warns that 60 years ago, underestimating them led to countless wizard deaths. Suddenly, the entire room goes dead silent. To break the tense standoff, Giltwine of the Iliad family turns to Deculein, asking for his perspective on this matter. Since the Deculein family are historic demon hunters, but Deculein, with modern knowledge, knows extreme hatred only breeds disaster, so crushing them now pay attention here, because even if he can't stop this, he must delay their destruction to complete his main system quest. The true enemy isn't the red demons. Deculein tells everyone that while they were past foes, historical records show it was all a misunderstanding. In the witch incident, 257 years ago, the accused witch, Rodolin, was actually innocent. But someone used that event to suppress the red demons, and their resistance only worsened things. The same goes for 60 years ago, when humans discovered mana stone mines on red demon lands. But Baton counters, stating that 60 years ago, the biggest killers were the Deculein family. He claims the red demons carry demonic blood, which a Deculein should know best of all. But Deculein firmly states that Deculein tradition is to slay actual demons, not red demons. Yet Baton stubbornly insists they are the exact same thing. As the room freezes again, Deculein demands to know if Baton can take full responsibility for his words. He warns that anyone who casually labels humans as demons might just be a demon themselves. Still, the meeting ends without reaching any conclusion, delaying the vote today too. Since the Becht conference is ongoing, everyone must stay overnight at the hotel. Giltwine asks his daughter Sylvia if she is fine staying alone, but she simply replies she is always alone. Even so, as her father Giltwine worries deeply. Before leaving, he warns her that Becht's high mana concentration can cause strange nighttime phenomena, reminding her to obey the hotel rules. Looking at the long list, Sylvia complains and decides to sleep early. But in the dead of night, a bizarre buzzing sound wakes her up. Feeling incredibly thirsty, she gets up to grab some water, only to realize something is terribly wrong. A creepy purple mist begins creeping toward her, leaving her utterly clueless. Terrified and confused, she frantically checks her rule book to see if she broke a rule. She is trembling with pure anxiety, and there it is. Rule number 1 says guests must remain flat on their beds until dawn, or face instant spatial teleportation. Just by getting up to drink water, she broke it. Now she is trapped in a creepy, unfamiliar corridor outside her room. She guesses this building is too close to the elders' quarters, causing wilder magical fluctuations. Now she forces herself to stay calm. Okay, I know what you are thinking, but she is completely helpless. The terrifying atmosphere behind her sends shivers down her spine. She sprints through the hotel. Rule 29, there are no stairs. Do not go up. Rule 3, ignore all open doors. Under no circumstances should she enter. Desperate and out of options, she bangs on a room door, violating Rule 4 entirely. If you hear knocking, never open or answer. But with the entity closing in, She hammers on the wood, praying for salvation. At the final second, the door swings open. It is Deculein himself asking if she is lost. To Sylvia, he looks like an absolute savior. Welcomed inside, she quickly explains to Deculein that simply getting a glass of water caused her to teleport. Deculein calmly warns her to strictly follow the rules, as Becht is infamous for throwing wild, unpredictable mana anomalies around. They even say powerful ghosts manifest here. Yet with his signature unwavering gaze, Deculein looks completely unbothered by any of it. Suddenly, a chilling sound echoes from outside. A strange fluid-like entity begins squeezing itself underneath the crack of the door. A powerful ghost bursts in. Deculein tells her to stay still. Suddenly, sharp gusts of wind fly past her, piercing the spirit. The entity shatters and vanishes into thin air. Sylvia immediately recognizes it as psychokinesis magic, left completely in absolute awe. She praises the professor, but Deculein coolly replies that it is nothing to boast about, reminding her magic is not for killing. Blushing hard, Sylvia tries to impress him by casting a fire spell. Deculein pats her head, praising her good work. Eager for more, she conjures several more spells, but Deculein praises her without even looking, which slightly annoys the young genius. To test him, she purposefully messes up. Sure enough, Deculein notices, pointing out that her magic circle has become unstable. She asks what her weakness is, but Deculein tells her to find it herself. Sylvia argues he taught Ephorine directly. He explains Ephorine figured it out herself, leaving Sylvia speechless. And that's where we leave it. She still has plenty of time. Trust me, you are about to see our legendary professor drop some of the most inspiring wisdom ever. He tells Sylvia she has world-class talent, and coming from him, this praise actually hits her differently. As she drifts off to sleep, Deculein keeps reading until a sudden golden flash nearby catches his eye. Following this intense glow triggered by his super-rich trait, he hopes to find some rare loot at this conference. Suddenly, a spooky ghost charges right at him, but Deculein does not even flinch, totally breaking the spirit. It keeps flying around, trying to terrify him, but he remains completely unbothered and suddenly stops in his tracks. He calmly asks the ghost if it has seen any magical items, scaring the poor spirit so badly it runs off crying. Though confused by the crying ghost, he quickly spots a glowing treasure resting right in front of him. He claims a progressive wood carving, making this trip worth it. When Jin-woo first took over Deculein, he struggled with a mediocre body, but crafting a magical staff from this unique wood could multiply his raw power. Now pay attention here, because the intensity in this meeting is about to reach its absolute boiling point. Baton argues that the Red Devils have demonic blood, but Deculein counters, asking if adding salt to water makes it salt. This fierce verbal clash between the two mages throws the entire conference room into a total panic. Giltwin is baffled as to why Deculein is shielding these outcasts instead of leading the purge against them. He suspects Deculein has a hidden agenda, but Sylvia knows they are all wrong about the professor. They think he is plotting something. But the truth is, Professor Deculein is simply stating the objective facts. The frustrated host finally interrupts their bickering, stating that this endless arguing is getting them absolutely nowhere. He postpones the Red Devil case, wrapping up the conference over the next few days in rapid fashion. An angry Beaton shoulders past Deculein as he storms out, but Deculein accepts making enemies for his quest. He knows more enemies will come. The next day, he visits the Becht shop to finish his custom staff. While debating which extra materials to pair with the rare Thunderbolt wood, a familiar voice suddenly calls out. It is Alan, shouting that he found the savior who guided him here safely, and Deculein recognizes her instantly. It is Deputy Director Lilia. To show his gratitude for protecting Alan, Deculein invites her to a meal. Lilia politely thanks him, but immediately shifts the conversation to official business, despite the casual dining setting. She asks about his guard knight, Baron, who was supposed to be with him during his journey. I know what you are thinking, that was way too cold. And Lilia can feel the eerie shift too. Flashback to the security bureau, where Lilia was interrogating the captured Red Devil Lukehak about his crimes. She tells him he is going to the worst prison for killing mages, but he remains dead silent. Lilia demands he use his secret ability, and with a smirk, a creepy dark eye manifests above them. Lilia slams the table in a rage, demanding why he acted so recklessly and harmed their own kind. He chuckles, admitting he actually planned to kill her, because keeping her alive puts them all at risk. He believes that if Lilia's identity is exposed, the public will completely wipe out their remaining people. Lilia argues they can survive as long as they stay hidden, but he says humans fear their power. She then demands to know why he targeted Deculein, especially since she already has eyes on his family. He asks if she wants to eliminate the Yuklines, but Lilia says they are currently just observing them. She warns he will be killed if he acts up, but Lukehak begs her to spare him. Lilia thinks he has lost his mind, calling Deculein a true noble when his crimes are massive.